point so that we can get started, but we still have people rolling in. So welcome, welcome. Thank you for coming. This is going to be packed with information. And even though it's packed with information, it will only scratch the surface on this emerging field of gut health. So know that there is lots we don't know. There's lots I don't know. There's lots that I'm learning. And it is exciting. It's an exciting field. And so we'll talk about that. Oh my gosh, Kathy Bruin, it is beautiful to see you here. Thank you for coming, my friend. We are recording, so if you ask questions, just know that you might be on screen because we are sharing this with those that can't make it. We had a contingent of people sign up from London, and they've asked if we can share the recording since they're asleep, right? So with that said, we are going to this is so fun. It's like throwing a party and having people come and seeing them, Kathy Bruin and Tasha, my favorite person who doesn't live near me anymore.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Oh my gosh, I would love to catch up with you another time. Thanks.
Definitely.
All right, gut health. We're going to get to it. I'm going to continue to let people in. And again, we're scratching the surface and we are recording for those that just came in. Know that if you ask a question, you may be on camera, but it's all good. We're sharing this with people. We're all in the same boat, right? Trying to figure this thing out. So at the end of the day, there are so many keys to great health. And the keys that I focus on are diverse antioxidants, a healthy microbiome, and a happy liver. So really, the gut microbiome is at the heart of that. I want to say the gut of that. It is at the heart of that. And so that's why we're covering that today. And we are going to talk a little bit about me, and then we're going to talk about the good and bad ways that we can affect our gut health. So I want you to have pen and paper. I want you to take notes because I want you to really pay attention to the one or two areas that resonate with you. Because we can't do it all, but we can decide where we need to put our attention. Because where we put our attention is the thing that grows. So I want you to have pen and paper so that as I'm talking, you think, oh, wait, that's important to me. Because everybody's different and different things will resonate with you today that might resonate differently another day. With that said, let me see if I can move this little chat box that's in my way. There we go. And this is a little bit about me. So for those of you that don't know me, I see a lot of familiar faces, which warms my heart. But for those of you that don't know me, I am Michelle DeWolf. I am a nationally board certified health and wellness coach. What started out as an adventure in nutrition and a passion in nutrition morphed into some pre-professional culinary training at the Cambridge School of Culinary Arts. And then I had the honor of being a culinary teacher here in my home, actually, for like 10 years, teaching kids and adults to get better nutrition on their plates and after school camps and adult classes and all sorts of things. And I actually had the incredible pleasure to work with Jane Bonacci, who's on this call, who's an incredible chef, gluten-free, has an amazing blog, which I hope you will put in the chat because everyone should be following you and getting your recipes, Jane. So put your blog info in the chat. And we have done some work together at Williams-Sonoma. It was tons of fun. So with that said,
Yes.
What's that? Okay, so with that said, a lot of my culinary students were asking me these nutrition questions, and in order to really put some structure around the work that I do, I sat for my certification in 2017, and then health coaching didn't really exist even 10 years ago. And so now there's a board exam. It's a 6-hour board exam that we take to really make sure that we aren't just making this stuff up and reading a few books on a weekend and then giving all sorts of random advice. So I sat for my board exams in 2020. And since then, I've taken a year-long course on hormone health, another 7-month course on gut health, and recently a integrative heart health for women course. And I'm a dietary supplement specialist, not because I believe in supplements first. I believe in food first, but so many people have tons of questions about supplements. And so I'm armed with that information as well. And to date, my clients are seeing about an 80% client success rate of meeting or exceeding the goals that they set for themselves. So it's exciting work. I am honored to be on the journey with so many fabulous people. And to mention that, that board exam, it is in collaboration with the National Board of Medical Examiners, which really helps us stay within our scope of practice and understand how very specifically to work with doctors and nutritionists and really make sure that the suggestions we're making and the coaching we're doing is fruitful and helpful and not harmful. There are a lot of people out there saying that they're nutritionists. There's a lot of people out there saying a lot of things. And board certified health and wellness coaches are trusted individuals that are working hand in hand with doctors. We have temporary CPT codes that allow us to, some of my clients can get this work covered from their FSA. And we're hoping in 2023 that there will be primary CPT codes. So they will be on your insurance plans, much like chiropractors and acupuncturists and things like that. When I sat for my exam, there were about 2,500 of us worldwide. And last I checked, there are 8,400. So it's an exploding field, and I am thrilled to be a part of it. So gut health. So what is gut health, and how do we know if ours is good? What is it, and why should I even care? So we're going to talk about the microbiome. The microbiome first is a community with the emphasis on community of microorganisms, bacteria, fungi, and viruses, and their genes, right, that naturally live in our body, primarily found in our small and large intestines, but it is throughout our body and on our body. It is the largest sensory organ and largely forgotten immune system organ. There are 60 different hormones, regulation of weight, blood sugar, serotonin, and mental health that is all managed and dealt with by our microbiome. The microbiome, this is fascinating to me, uses energy just like other organs. So I didn't realize that in getting into this work, and it weighs as much as the brain. So it is a living, breathing thing, and it actually thinks and adapts because there are 20 million microbial genes. And of that, 3.3 million of them are non-redundant, right? Think about that for a second. If there were, 10 genes doing their genetic thing, they could do however many things that is, right? But there's 3.3 million that are non-redundant. So they all have their own function. They all have their own tasks. They all have their own direction. And trillions of microbes are living in our gut. And it is as unique as a thumbprint. So each of you here today has a wildly different microbiome that maybe not wildly, I don't know, different, right? Different than as a thumbprint. So at the end of the day, we are more diverse inside than we are outside. And those microbes influence our genetic material and can send signals to turn on and off your genes. That's the whole field of epigenetics, which I know very little about, and they're just scratching the surface of that. But it's a fascinating field, and it is absolutely building deep and broad research around it. Because we know that the microbiome is sending chemical signals that regulate your hormones, as I mentioned before. It helps to eliminate toxins, creates natural antibiotics, influences obesity and our immune system. There's a huge mind, body, gut connection that simple proof of that would be things like butterflies in your stomach. That is a feeling that you have that is communicating your brain and your gut, or when you blush, when you get embarrassed. We can't then just decide not to. We can't just say, oh, stop blushing. It doesn't work that way because our body is communicating. And our best insurance to keep our microbiome healthy is diversity. And so what does good mean, and how do you know if yours, whoops, I went all the way to the end. And now you get to see all my pretty slides ahead of time. That's not fair. Oh, see, I'm giving away all my secrets. Okay, see, there I am. And microbiome. Next page, yay. How do we know that your gut health is good? And what is good gut health? So regular bowel movements. Everybody is different, but say 3 times. Some people do it 3 times a day. Some people have a bowel movement 3 times per week. What we want to look at is it consistent for you? Does it make sense for you? Is there anything surprising going on? That is an indicator of your gut health. Balanced and smooth digestion. Things are going in, there's not a lot of grumbling, there's no pain, things are moving along pretty well. Nutrient absorption. If you're having blood work done and you're having challenges with uptaking your vitamin B or your D, or there's not great nutrient absorption, that's one indicator. Good hormone balance. Hormones are balanced greatly by a healthy microbiome. A good night's sleep, consistent energy, a normal amount of gas and bloating. I never knew in this work that I would be talking about poop and pee as often as I do, but I talk about it every day, all day. And it's really one of the ways that we can find out if things are working well. And a normal amount of gas and bloating varies per person, and everybody passes gas. I think there's a children's book called, isn't it called Everybody Farts? And there's a normal amount of gas and bloating, looks like something like 14 to 23 times in a 24-hour period. And much of it is done at night. And so don't be alarmed. It is a normal part of our body function. And then mental clarity, and then healthy reactions to food. So vegetables and healthy foods can upset our digestive system when we have an unhealthy, unbalanced environment. So it's interesting because I've had clients who things like kale and broccoli and other cruciferous vegetables really upset their stomach. And they might have pockets of imbalance in there where bacteria has taken over little nooks and crannies, and that kind of fiber can upset the digestion. So that's how you know that your gut is healthy and running smoothly. The other thing too is when it's running smoothly, because the gut is the gatekeeper to the outside world, there are many things that disrupt our microbiome. And I'm going to focus on these things today, but because it's a gatekeeper to the outside world, things like antibiotics, alcohol, dehydration, environmental toxins, the things that we put on and around our body, lack of sleep, smoking, and stress can really affect our gut health. But for our purposes today, because we can't cover everything, we're going to talk about stress, sleep, and the diet and what we can do about that. So stress itself, 75 to 90% of doctor visits are conditions that are tied directly to stress. When we are in our sympathetic nervous system, which is moves you into that fight or flight, that high stress sympathetic nervous system, things slow down and it stops your digestion, among other things. When you're in your parasympathetic nervous system, think calm, think ocean, think money tree growing in the backyard, all is well. You are in the rest and digest system. So hear me when I say that you can either stress or digest. We cannot do both effectively at the same time because your body at a perceived threat level, which happens even when the guy cuts you off or woman cuts you off in traffic, that can stress you out. A perceived threat, what happens in your body is it releases those stress hormones like cortisol, increases your heart rate, blood sugar flows to the muscles and brain to help you get out of the danger it thinks you are in, releases adrenaline so that you can flee, the smooth muscles of the intestines contract, blood is diverted from our organs and specifically our digestion. The digestive enzymes stop flowing, which is really important. When we get that GERD and that heartburn and that kind of thing that comes from stress, it's not because we have too much going on, it's because things have stopped flowing. There's because the production of the stomach acid decreases, and that chronic stress that so many of us are in keeps this process going. Stress over time can increase belly fat with the release of cortisol. The stress releases histamines that increases allergens and sensitivities and intolerances, weakens the mucosal lining, which is in response to and creates inflammation, creates the malabsorption we talked about, gives you those elevated blood sugar levels, we talked about inflammation, decreases the healthy bacteria in our gut. And then the negative guys, the guys we don't want, or girls, they can crowd into that area where the healthy ones have decreased. The brain can then overreact with a full stress response, even to the smallest stressor, because it's working so hard to maintain the status quo. So stress is a killer, for sure. The areas we're going to talk about today that we can have an immediate impact on our primary food, mindful eating, reframing, and then our vagus nerve. So this is where I want you to have a notebook, because I want you to really think about, because you can't do all of this all of the time. And I want you to really think about the area that you think for you needs some attention. Because as I said, where we put our attention grows. And I wholeheartedly believe that it is possible to have it all in life. I just know that trying to do it all at the same time, all at once, is exhausting and not sustainable. So primary food is nourishment off our plate. So that is wildly important, to have fulfillment off of our plate. These are not the foods we eat. These are things like social connections, managing stress, moving your body. Maybe it's journaling for you, really getting creative, getting outside, exploring your passion and purpose, having love and relationships with friends and intimate partners, sleep and gratitude, getting your finances organized, right? It is important primary food for sure. When's the last time you learned something new? And then just something as simple as refreshing the space around you can bring this incredible sense of calm. It fills us up and reduces our stress. Our lifestyle choices with the people we hang out with the most have a profound effect on our microbiology. I mean, it never really even occurred to me that that was a thing. All right, so I want you to wonder about those areas in your life and think about what might need some attention. And then the next area is mindful eating. So this is crazy. I had a whole experiment that I had to do during my certification where I had to eat mindfully and chew my food and all sorts of stuff. I ate half as much. I lost a couple of pounds, and I really, truly enjoyed my food. Because how often do we, especially in this country, sit down to just relax and only eat our food? When we are sitting down, mindfully eating, looking at the food, paying attention to what we're doing, it shifts us out of that fight or flight that we talked about, right? The fight or flight that has shut down our digestive enzymes, and the fight or flight that is trying to stop digestion and allows us to rest and digest. Your digestive enzymes and the chemical messengers are properly prepared to receive the food. And the recommendation for chewing, this is going to gross some people out, is to chew your food like 20 to 30 times. I want it to be like a chunky applesauce kind of texture, because there's no teeth beyond your mouth. And once you chew it, the body has to work harder and harder. So when you chew once or twice because you're in the car and you got to jump in, jump out, or you're in a meeting and you're trying to shovel it in between moments, your body has to work a lot harder to break down much larger molecules, and it creates inflammation and challenges for your digestive system. So then consider your environment. I want you to think about, where are you eating? Are you in your car? Are you at your desk? Are you in front of your computer? Are you multitasking? I want you to think about taking 20 minutes just to consider your environment, sit down and eat, focus on your food, pay attention to what you're actually eating. And when you look at that plate, ask yourself, what do I need? When's the last time I had a great vegetable? When's the last time I had whole grains on my plate? What's on my plate that is feeding me at a cellular level? That is all about the mindful eating, and can really amplify what's possible in giving your gut time and all the pieces and parts it needs to do its best work for you. So here's where I'm going to have you do a little exercise that is going to help you reframe some of your stress stories. So we all have stress stories in our lives. An example I'll give you is a lot of us have a lot of restrictions around what we can or can't eat or what diet we're on, a dietary plan. And then when we're off that plan, we start to beat ourselves up. So the stress story might be, I found out there was garlic in my meal. I'm not supposed to have garlic since I'm on this restricted diet. Oh my gosh, I'm worried that I have reversed my progress. All is lost. Forget it. I'm terrible at this, right? And then the emotion or response, the old emotion or response is worry, anxiety, that black and white thinking, that all on, all off thinking, and erasing all your progress. So think about a story you tell yourself, whether it's when you get on your scale or when you've had a fun weekend with the boys, or you've overdone it in some way, and what you say to yourself and how you speak to yourself in your head. And then what I want you to do after you've written that down is I want you to tell yourself a new story. So the new story for the person who's eaten the garlic might be, all right, I ate the garlic. I've been making some great progress with my health and my symptom management this month. I can't change the fact that I ate the garlic, and I may feel poorly for a bit, but this will pass, and I know what can help me get through it. I know what to do next. This has taught me what to look for, and that I don't make the same mistake again. And the new reaction is optimism and reframing. This can work for any area, of course, right? But I really want you to think about a story and take a minute. I wish I could see all of you writing, but I want you to think about a story where you tell yourself the negative story, the old story, and write down the new one, because this can be really pivotal for you being able to manage that stress in the moment, to keep that microbiome and those digestive enzymes and all those the serotonin development, all of those things happy and humming along in your gut. All right. Did you guys do it? Little thumbs up, maybe, since you don't want to be on camera. Excellent. All right. So that's a story I want you to think about, that reframing exercise. You can do it with anything. You can do it at work. You can do it with food. You can do it with just about anything. And we'll talk about the vagus nerve and why we really need to breathe differently, possibly, than we already are. So the vagus nerve runs from your brain stem all the way down through your bowels. It is the chemical messenger superhighway, and we can affect those messages. And it's one of the reasons why deep breathing, really deep belly breathing, can help us affect those messages. Because here's the thing. The vagus nerve is made up of 80% of the fibers in the vagus nerve, as like the central communication device, carry messages from the body to the brain. 80%. 20% carries it from the brain to the body. So think about that, right? Think about how the body is communicating much more robustly to the brain, as opposed to the brain telling it what to do. And I think that is fascinating, because we have a lot, when we can de-stress ourselves, when we can feed ourselves at a cellular level, we can affect that communication greatly. All right. So what is healthy vagal? Well, let's talk about, let me see what my next slide is. So healthy vagal tone means that you have good resilience to stress, that stressful things happen, the person cuts you off, you take a couple deep breaths, you go on about your day. Other people, they may hang on to it. It may stress them out hours down the line. They may be laying in bed at night thinking about the person that cut them off, and it's causing an actual reaction in their body. And that can elevate your heart rate. So when you have a nice, healthy heart rate, resilience to stress, and a general sense of well-being, a healthy appetite and healthy bowel movements, those are all great signs that you have strong vagal nerve connections. And one of the ways, and we're going to talk about others, but one of the ways that we can strengthen our vagal tone is this deep belly breathing. Because deep belly breathing, when we put our hands on our belly button and we breathe in through our nose so that our belly button rises, but our shoulders stay down, that activates the diaphragm, which is moving up and down your body, and it is tapping into that vagal nerve. It's touching it, and you cannot breathe slowly and rhythmically if that tiger is shooting out of the bushes to kill you. You can't breathe in that way. So you're telling the body and you're telling the vagal nerve that you are okay. That's the reason that that deep belly breathing actually works and can calm you down in as few as 3 breaths, maybe even 1. So that's a big exercise I do with my clients a lot. And the thing I say to them too is every time your butt hits the chair, at the desk, in the car, on your sofa, take a couple deep belly breaths, because it's a simple way. It doesn't have to be a big meditative practice. It can just be simple, deep belly breathing. Every time your butt hits the chair is one easy way to think about it. But here's some other things. So in this additional certification, I have a typo. The additional certification that I took recently on women's integrative heart health, we talked about the different ways to tap into the vagal nerve. And you can really affect change and tone doing yoga and Tai Chi in as little as 8 to 12 weeks with intention. That mindful eating, you can switch things up in about 4 weeks because it's the consistent, regular practice. Meditation of any kind, guided meditation, nature, what is it called? Nature bathing, any sort of meditation, you can really shift things up in as little as 12 weeks. I think you could do it sooner with meditation. And then vagal massage has a really high success rate, which is here in the front of your throat and in the back of your neck. And I have one client who is working on that with, so what I'm looking for, essential oils, that she's really having a great response. But this other that I found interesting, the 528 hertz music, which you can on Amazon Music and on Spotify, you put that in the search engine and a bunch of playlists come up. It sounds super spa-like, it's super interesting, but in as little as 5 minutes of listening to this, there's some deep and broad research behind all of these practices. But with the 528 hertz music, there's deep and broad research that it just dials things way down. And so if deep breathing is not your thing, some people, when they sit down to do it, they get a little flustered, and that's not your thing. Try some of these other things to really dial down the stress. All right, because stress and negativity actually restricts that cellular growth. So laughter and social connection and these positive practices, which of course I know how to spell positive, and they can make a huge difference. Cold plunging is another thing that we've talked about. It's very controversial. The cold plunge, for some people, if you're trained at it, and I'm guessing Sabri has done this before, but the cold plunge between hot and then jumping into the cold can be really great at strengthening the vagal tone. But if you have not done that before, it can be a challenge for your heart. And women can have these spasms and things when they go. So what you can do as a practice is go from pretty hot to pretty cold. In the shower, you can go back and forth. It doesn't have to be the Arctic polar plunge necessarily. So I wanted to mention that because it has gotten pretty controversial. All right. Does anybody have any questions at all at this point? All right. So sleep. Sleep is wildly important for a million different reasons. And I've got some top tips for why I want for getting a good night's sleep. Sleep is when we do all of our repair, recovery, and our nerve synapses are getting it together. We're not supposed to be digesting. So when we're eating at 10 o'clock at night and going to bed at 10:30, it's a little bit like throwing things at your digestive system when it's asleep. Because all of your systems have these little rhythms, right? They all have circadian clocks. There's one in your brain, your pancreas has it, your digestive system has it, and they're all working on this rhythm. And everybody's rhythm's a little different, but when you are throwing something at your pancreas to deal with, or throwing something at your digestive system to deal with when it's sleeping, it's not very efficient. And your liver wants to get to work on getting rid of the toxins overnight and cleaning everything up. So that's why we want to sleep. And the top tips that I have for, and this is, I mean, I do a sleep talk for another hour, and I work with my clients on this all the time. So a couple of tips: water. A lot of people are very excited, they're drinking their water, but they'll forget by the end of the day, and then they down a bunch of glasses because they're super thirsty, and then you're up all night going to the bathroom. So spread your water out throughout the day. And if your output is clear, you are more than hydrated. And if your output is dark yellow, you are not hydrated enough. I want it to be a pale lemonade color throughout the day, except for that first one in the morning, if you've slept all through the night. And then exercise. So exercise every day, great for sleep, great for everything, super important. Strength, conditioning, cardio. But some people, that affects their sleep if they exercise later in the day. So you get to decide what works for you. And what many people are, it's much more beneficial for them to work out in the morning and not hype things up later in the day. Caffeine affects some people more than others. And if you suspect that it's caffeine, I would recommend cutting back or cutting it out and then adding it back in and see how it affects you. And then napping. Again, totally bio-individual. Some people can nap, some people cannot. It's up to you, but if you're having a hard time, these are areas you want to look. And then having a nighttime ritual, it's not only about a nighttime ritual, it's about a daytime sleep patterns. That when you've assessed your exercise and your coffee and all of the things that are happening during the day, and you've set yourself up well, then you want to look at nighttime ritual. Some people, when they're getting ready for bed, they have a whole routine. They're doing yoga, they're stretching, they're taking a shower, they're doing all these different things. Other people, it's brush my teeth, hit the hay. Decide having a regular ritual that your body gets used to, however short or long, tells your body that it's time to get ready for bed. So I do things like turn the lights down in the house, and it kind of lock the doors, and it's just those things you do while you're getting ready for bed. And then creating a sanctuary in your bedroom where you have a great pillow and a great mattress, and it's not too hot and it's not too cold, it's not too bright. It's like, mama bear, baby bear. You got to figure out your own sanctuary. It's a worthy investment. Consistency is what your body wants across the board more than anything. It wants you to have those circadian clocks all dialed in and have that consistency. And then the blue light on the phone, you've all read a million things about whether it keeps us all up or not. I'm sad to say that it's different for everyone. I would love to have one answer and say, do this and it will work. But some people are not affected at all. And some people, it's not the blue light that's affecting them. It's what they're doing on their phone or their laptop before bed. If you're doom scrolling through the news, it's not necessarily the best way to lay your head down to sleep. You want to lay your head down to sleep with better thoughts in your head. Okay, so I want you to just think about these things and make note of them to see where you might need some attention if sleep is your issue. Now we're going to get to diet solutions. So these slides are really full, so you can take screenshots or do whatever you need to do. But the first step in the work that I do with my clients is we kind of investigate what's going on. And the tool that I use mainly to investigate is a food journal. Doing a food journal is a really great tool to have for your own self. And I give instructions where I just want people to jot down the times of day that they eat things, the approximate quantities. I want you to include beverages for sure, because that's food. You're putting it in your body. I want to know what it is. So we look at that food journal, and how you feel before, during, and after you eat things is really important as well. So if you're doing this for yourself, those are the things you want to look at. And then we go through and we figure out how it relates to your sleep and how it relates to digestion. And we take a look at all the things that what they are, right? Gluten and dairy and red meat and processed foods, caffeine and sugars and added sugars for sure, alcohol and all the white processed foods. We look at all of those things and we see if there are some triggers based on how we're feeling. And late night eating, that's another one too that is big. And then we can eliminate them. And there's two ways to do it. you can either eliminate them one at a time, take something out, continue with everything else you've been doing, and then after a couple of days, add it back in and see how you feel. Or if it's a variety of things that you know, because sometimes I know gluten and dairy can get really mixed up together because we're eating like pizza and pasta and things that have both dairy and gluten. You can take it all out for a period of time, say a week, and then add one of them back in like wholeheartedly and just go for it and see how you feel. It's a great way to identify whether you have some intolerances. And then when we're doing all those other things, we're sleeping and we're eating mindfully, then we can eliminate those as triggers because we know that we've tapped into our rest and digest. Because remember, you can only stress or digest. So if you're going to really investigate, these are the things that I get to do in my work to find out what is going on. And then we get to replace. So supplements are, it's an unregulated field. There is not, the research is all over the map. When you have documented deficiencies and you have found a quality supplement, which I can help you with, then it makes sense. And you've checked with your doctor and everything is good and we understand the dosage and we're clear, then it makes a lot of sense. I don't recommend that people just start throwing in detox supplements and all sorts of stuff because there can be contraindications. It can mess up your own microbiome. There are lots of, you can overdose on fat soluble vitamins that aren't coming out of your body. So you want to be careful, and we want to focus on fruits and veggies and herbs as well, primarily. Herbs can influence, or it's fascinating, right? Because there's the whole like Chinese herbal medicine, and they can influence or suggest to the body to strengthen or inhibit signals rather than telling it what to do. So you can think about herbs as amplifiers of what is possible. It's a pretty cool thing. And the veggies and fruits, what we're looking for is variety because we want to increase the antioxidants, the minerals, and the fibers. So the first list of things I want you to consider adding in are pre and probiotic foods as opposed to a probiotic supplement. Probiotic supplements make an assumption that you need that specific strain. And food gives your body the opportunity to choose what it needs, if that makes sense, right? So prebiotic foods, what they do is they feed the microflora. So that's things like dandelion greens, Jerusalem artichoke, garlic, those things on the left. They're feeding the microflora. The probiotic foods are the live organisms that we're putting back in and giving our body the opportunity to uptake. And that's found in cultured foods and the list you see on the right, okay? So I want you to consider how much of those things you're getting in your diet on a regular basis and consider what you can add in, okay? And then polyphenols. So polyphenols are what we get when we eat a rainbow and diversity of foods. They exhibit prebiotic effects and the growth of specific beneficial bacteria. All the polyphenols, which are these microcellular, they're at a cellular level, they reduce oxidation, and an oxidation is when, it's funny, because oxidation happens in our body when the molecules steal electrons from other cells. And I think about them like angry citizens, because they're in there and they've had an oxygen molecule stolen, and so now they're running around angry looking for another one to connect. And that's when you get those free radicals, right? Sounds like a community. So they're running around angry and they're trying to get with their oxygen buddy. The polyphenols are the things that go in and connect with the free radicals and calm them down. So that's one way to think about feeding the community. And with that said, I want to give you an example, because there's the health benefit, for example, of the polyphenols found in red wine. And there are documented health benefits for the polyphenols found in red wine. However, that only happens in the context of a healthy microbiome. Because if we're throwing that stuff in there and it's not what they need, those things can upset the microbiome and then the unhealthy liver and so on. if that makes sense. So we've got to work on giving the diversity and that kind of thing before we try to throw things in that the liver also has to deal with. So that is your list of things that you want to add in to increase those polyphenols. And then this is the largest, whole grains actually is the biggest deficit in it's fiber in the Western diet. We should be getting somewhere between 25 to 30 grams of fiber from our food, and most people are getting about 15. Whole grains, it's found in fruits and vegetables for sure, but whole grains and legumes and beans and pulses and things, that's where you're going to get a large bulk of your fiber. The fiber is what feeds the beneficial gut flora. The fiber is what helps that happen. It's found in whole grains, unrefined flours, and sprouted grains are easier to digest because they're partially through the process. They're higher in digestive enzymes, and they include things like legumes, beans, chickpeas, and lentils as well. All right, so think about fiber and where you're at. I know that sometimes I can go a whole day and I think, wait a minute, have I had any of these things? And then I've got to add them on my plate. And then anti-inflammatory foods. So those increase the microbes that work to reduce the inflammation. And so these are some of the foods that can reduce that are anti-inflammatory. A lot of these have, there's an imbalance in the US between omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. And omega-3 is what we need to be anti-inflammatory. So things like fatty salmon and healthy fats like avocado, extra virgin olive oil, ghee, butter made from dairy from grass-fed cows, nuts, other fatty fish, flaxseed, and chia are going to give you a higher level of omega-3s to combat the overly processed standard American diet that many of you, I'm sure, don't eat, right? So I want you to keep those in mind, and they give you those antioxidants and fiber. And then animal proteins. So you want to have happy quality animal proteins. Happy cows doing their happy cow thing and happy chickens doing their happy chicken thing have a very different nutritional makeup than their factory farmed cousins. So I want you to choose wisely. I'm a fan. I mean, I'm largely vegetarian because I enjoy it, but I will eat animal proteins if it's from a high quality source. My kids joke that I have to have like the name of the animal, but I don't actually want that. But it's important for having those healthy proteins to avoid antibiotics. They're eating grass and bugs and the things that they're supposed to eat to work in the way that they're supposed to work. And on factory farmed animals, the meat is often great because it's marbled with fat. You can think about the factory farmed animals as us sitting on our couch watching TV all day, eating chips and Diet Coke or full sugar Coke, because that's what they're doing. They're stuck. They can't move around like these cows can in the picture and do their happy cow thing. They have a very different nutritional makeup that is higher in omega-3s than their factory farmed cousins. I was going to go down that whole thing, but hydration. This gets its own slide because I want you all drinking water. The basic recommendation for us is something like 8-ounce glasses or 64 ounces in a day. It again varies with every person because, like I talked about, if you're clear, if your output is clear all day long, you're way hydrated, not in a bad way, but you're very hydrated. If it is dark yellow, you're not drinking enough. It needs to be that pale lemonade color in between. And that amount is right for you. And it could vary. When Sabri has an event and he is working hard all day for hours and working out for hours, he's going to need more water, right? So when you're working out or you've got other things going on or it's hot out, you drink more. And I want you to think about that because it fills you up, and every cell in your body needs healthy fat and hydration all day, every day. So then if you feel that you need, so I want you to think about what we've talked about, think about the areas that are not getting enough attention. And if you feel like you need some repair, bone broth is it's anecdotally a great option for digestive healing. There isn't any deep or broad research around that, but anecdotally, both from my clients and out in the world, bone broth with quality collagen and organic bones and things like that can be great healer. Filtered water might be something you'll want to consider because there's a lot of junk in our water. I read a very disturbing article in the Nutrition Action newsletter by Center for the Science in the Public Interest and about our water across this country. So filtered water is something you'll want to consider to help with repair. Look into making sure that your proteins, both vegetable and animal, are quality, organic, happy proteins, because if it's not in the dirt that it grows in or in the grasses that the animals eat, it can't get into them and it can't get into our body. So it's important to have a quality protein for that. If you are doing some repair and you want to add in the probiotics and fermented foods, I would recommend, if you're having digestive issues, that you do it slowly. Because adding those live bacteria into your body kind of all at once can cause some uncomfortable digestive distress. So add it in slowly, one thing at a time, once a day, and see how you go. And then look at your fats, your healthy fat. A lot of people feel that fats are going to make us fat, but healthy fats your cells need. Every cell, from your tips of your toes to your brain and everything in between, needs healthy fats. Think about it like the lube in the machinery. You have to have those healthy fats, and I would love to see that at every meal. An easy way to do that is, and one of the most popular and one of the most successful and one of the healthiest diets in the world, with deep and broad research behind it, is the Mediterranean diet. So does that mean we all need to move to the Mediterranean? Maybe. It seems like a good place to be. But we can do that. One thing I love about it is because it's whole real food, generally, that is as close to its natural source as possible. We can do that anywhere. And there are so many resources online and cookbooks, and you can Google it and find recipes. And it's a very robust and easy whole real food with regular foods that you can eat every day. They also help you build a plate. And the two areas that I challenge people to build their plate is with 5 things at each meal. And those 5 things are protein, healthy fat, whole grains, fruits, and vegetables. So when you're looking at your plate in your mindful eating, you're thinking, what's missing? What do I need to add to this plate? And if I can't get it on this plate, what am I going to put on my lunch plate or my dinner plate? So think about and the Mediterranean diet helps you do this, the 5 things every day. And then I like to challenge people to think about getting to the diversity that we're looking for, and the antioxidants and the polyphenols and all those things. I want you to think about getting 30 different things in your diet in a week. So that means I challenge myself to do this every day, but I'm going to give you guys a week, because you think about everything you do. If you make like a loaded oatmeal bowl, so oatmeal's great, whole grain, we're all good. And then you add some nuts to it. So now you've got a healthy fat and a protein. Then you add 3 different berries. So now you've got 3 different colors. You've got raspberries, you've got blackberries, and then maybe you cut up, you put some banana in there and some. So now you've got 5 things? Now I'm losing count. Then you put in some shredded coconut in there, and you've got a healthy fat. You've got 6 things, some chia, some flax, 7, 8. You put in a little drizzle of Greek yogurt, 9. You put in, what else have I put in there? A spoonful of nut butter, 10. I'm forgetting some things. Anyway, you get my point. So now you're up to 10, and all you've done is had breakfast. And then people start building this loaded oatmeal, and they're like, oh my God, I didn't snack, and I ate at noon and I felt great. It was amazing. And how many things can you get into a salad? Like 30 in your salad, easy. So I try to do it every day. There's a thought out there, and I'm not going to remember the doctor's name, but he has this 30 different plant-based things in a week. But I say 30 different things in a day to build your diversity. And the Mediterranean diet is also great for vegetarians and pescatarians and carnivores, so it's super easy to follow. So we're going to wrap up pretty soon. So here's the question for you. You've taken some notes, you've done the exercise, you've listened to me talk and talk and talk. What is the best next simple step you can take to move you forward? Because can you do all of these things? Can you add in all the things we talked about today? No. So what thing bubbled up for you the most? What thing did you think, oh, I really need to get on it. I really need to think about that. And if I had to pick one for myself in this moment, honestly, I think I need to look at my whole grains. I really need to look at my whole grains and what I'm doing there. I get it in the morning, but the rest of the day, I don't know. And honestly, we could all use to eat more vegetables. So I want you to think about what we talked about. Is it sleep? Is it, oh, and I like that you guys, you can put it in the chat too, where Kathy said she needs to drink more water. And Jane, I will send the copies of the slides out to all of you. I'll send the whole recording. And so you're all going to get the recording after this, and it will have the slides, and I can attach the slides to it as well. But if you'd like to put something in your chat of, because your success increases if you say it out loud. And then it increases again if you tell a person. And then it increases again when you hire a coach, right? It just, the more accountability that you get, the more success you will see. So then what you're going to do once you have done these exercises and you've thought about the one thing, or maybe it's the two things. Kathy talked about drinking more water. And so tell yourself, okay, how am I going to drink more water? Well, I'm going to measure my water bottle, right? I'm going to measure my water bottle. It's 24 ounces. I want to drink at least 2 of those to get myself to 48 and see how I feel. And do that for 2 weeks. And then in 2 weeks, you're going to review it. Did I drink it? Did I not? Do I hate my water bottle? Did I need more? How was my output? Did I feel better? And then and since you've shared it with somebody, then you're going to look at that. That gives you the accountability. Put it in your calendar. 2 weeks from now, I'm going to check in on this commitment I made to myself. And make sure that it's measurable. Make sure that the thing you've chosen, say you've committed to drinking more water, and your goal is to drink 50 ounces in a day. And then track it. There's some cute little apps out there for water drinking. There's one where you can like build an aquarium, and there's all sorts of fun things. Or you can just make check boxes on a Post-it note. Keep it as simple as you can. And then assess your progress. There's no destination that we arrive at that says we are suddenly the healthiest we're going to be on this day at this time. It is a lifetime of us looking at all the things and moving ourselves along the spectrum. This is how you can contact me, and everybody can have a free consultation anytime. Like, I want to sit down and chat with people. I could do this all day long. And I see that question in the chat. 1 second. And then anybody who books by this time next week, gets 20% off my 6-month program, because I love it when you guys come and show up, and I'll give you some time to decide and sit down. As long as you book a consultation with me, and then you decide to do it or not do it, I'll hold that coupon for you. And then the question in the chat is, what dose or CFUs of probiotics do you suggest to start with? I don't actually, because first of all, we want to figure out, I want you to start with food. And then based on your symptoms, what's happening and why do you feel that you need the probiotics? There's no research that says X amount is where to start, and this is the perfect thing for all people. And so it's really hard to recommend that specifically. What I do want you to look for, though, when you're looking at probiotics, is every probiotic should have what I call like a license plate. It's a series of numbers after the strain. And you want to have that in there, because then you can track it back to a legitimate source and figure out where it's coming from. And so it's important to have that quality, to check on your bottle and check on those to make sure they've got that strain. And so think about that as finding quality. And my feeling is, if you get a broad spectrum probiotic, then it gives your body a better opportunity to pick and choose what it needs, but you also really want to take it slow. Because you can get, billions of CFUs and it's not a quality strain, and you're wasting your money. And others, it can be lower in the CFUs, but it's super high quality and it's exactly what your body needed. and then you get what you need. So as far as recommending supplements, I have a question. Can I recommend supplements? And so that is outside the scope of practice of a health and wellness coach. What I can do is I can point you in the direction based on either documented deficiencies or symptomatically what you might be needing. And then we can check in with your doctor. You can do the research. I can provide, I have a whole database of supplements. I can provide patient education sheets and give you all the information you need to make an educated decision together with your doctor. And then I have the question, how much time should be allowed between eating, dinner, and sleep? I would love 3 hours. If you can get 2, it's a good place to start. But I would love 3 hours for your digestive system to do its thing, because I really want your digestive system to be largely done digesting food by the time you lay down to bed. And also water. We've got to drink our water throughout the day and not, chug a lug a whole bunch and then lay down with all that liquid in our system. These are good questions. Anybody else have questions? You are very welcome.
Could you touch a little bit on the amount of sugar?
Oh, amount of sugar. So we are the recommended allowance of, like tax my brain, of added sugar in a day is something like 24 to 36 grams. I don't think I'm lying. And it works out to be between 6 to 9 teaspoons of added sugar in a day. And added sugar, you can thank the Center for Science in the Public Interest, CSPI, for getting that put on our nutrition labels. I'm a big fan of CSPI. I get nothing for saying that. They are not supported by lobbyists or big business. They are supported by people like us. And they are the people in Washington getting the nutrition labels changed, getting calories on the restaurant menus. They are doing some incredible work for us that we don't even know they're doing. So check them out and subscribe to their Nutrition Action newsletter. It doesn't cost very much. It's fantastic. Any other questions? Does that help with the sugar question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Anything else? I want to be respectful of your time, and I am happy to take. Is there a correlation between seemingly increasing gluten intolerance and the quality of grains? 100%. I don't know if it's, off the top of my head, I don't know if it's a deep or broad research study that has said it, but anecdotally, 100%. Because I know people who have traveled in Paris and in Italy, and they have challenges with gluten here, right? And they have challenges with gluten here, and they can travel and they can eat it in other countries. Maybe not with wild abandon, but they can eat it in other countries. It is an entirely different plant that's growing in entirely different soil that's living. And so there's so much we don't know about the microbiology of the plants and the dirt and how that affects our bodies. And here it's the commodity crop. And we've got, of course, pesticides and who knows what else, right? And an entirely different plant growing in not robust soil. So there is a huge correlation between gluten intolerance and sensitivities. You're very welcome. You guys were fun. I would love to be able to see all of you, but I appreciate, it's end of the day. Everybody has, end of day hair. I get it. And you're all in your pajamas, right? Any other questions I can answer for you all? Well, I hope to see each and every one of you. Why would you not take advantage of a free consult? Just go to my website. There's a button that says free consultation and just book with me, because why would you not? Book with me and take some time. I'm not super salesy. It's not, I want you to be happy and I want to answer your questions. So book with me, take some time. And if you are excited and you want to jump on a 6-month program, you get 20% off for showing up, and tell your friends. Thank you very much, everybody. So much fun. I'll see many of you soon.